Welcome, 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 my lovely brothers and sisters. Welcome to the second part of the Singularity and Humans 4.0. I started this morning the first part, and I also read chapter 20 of the Orion Book, volume 2. And chapter 20 was all about the Great Awakening. This is a movement that steers us and tries to steer the entire human soul group into the metaverse and thus into the singularity timeline, and so into war with Orion, and thus into a new cosmic galactic war. That is the whole metaverse about. That is the timeline of metaverse slash singularity. It is the timeline that the Pleiadians warned us about, that is all based on going at war, cosmic galactic war with Orion. This war is already going on without us, the human soul group, consciously knowing that we in actuality are already waging war against Orion. So let us look a bit deeper into this, because nowadays and since several decades we see an, uh, an tremendous rise of traumatization done to the human race. Um, the levels of traumatization are increasing, and especially since the rollout of the 2020 circus, this instigated endemic, as I call it, because I need to be careful, unfortunately. Um, and since then, we see a rollout of a lot of events that are continuously based in traumatizing the human soul group even more. Why is this going on? Well, therefore, we need to look at the narcissistic relationship. Yeah, if you have a narcissistic relationship, then the longer you are in this relationship, the more and more traumatized you become by the narcissist. Well, we are dealing with cosmic narcissists. And whom are these cosmic narcissists? Well, very simply said, this is a group of the schizophrenic, sociopathic, and psychopathic so-called God the Father of this matrix, known as Yaldabaoth, and all his fallen archangels, fallen angels, archons, also known as the group of overlords, um, and also of course, their earthly minions slash proxies known as the Cabal, the Illuminati, the oligarchs, the elite, all these royal houses and whatever. They are all proxies of this cosmic um, group of schizophrenic, narcissistic, sociopathic, malignant, narcissistic, and um, Machiavellisticness beings. All right, the global traumatization of the human soul group. No one can deny that we live in unprecedented times, because due to the internet and global network broadcasting, the elite can traumatize right now an entire world at once. The majority of these social media platforms, better said, all the social media platforms are in actuality part of this program of traumatizing the human soul group on daily basis, each and every moment of their existence. Yeah, many channels on social media platforms are channels run and sponsored by the CIA. And of course, they choose very charismatic people because charism um, is the nice bait for many people to present a person that looks very believable. Yeah, people whom are in actuality bringing truth based information and are helping with this their fellow brothers sisters. Most of them have not a huge amount of followers, and most of these channels have at least 10 years of existence before they have a group of followers of at least 1,000 people. This says a lot about those channels on social media platforms um, whom already start with 3K followers and hardly have content placed on it. I know, and Spirit showed me several years ago that there is a whole industry built around creating fake channels and creating channels with already a lot of followers. And I have been for a short while, thankfully, been participating in TikTok, and I got a followers of which I was like, I don't trust you. And when I was clicking on their profile, they had no content, but they had a group of followers of 4,000. Well, that is interesting. That means for me that you are a paid person to, in actuality, to scan the internet on people who, yeah, could be a danger for the establishment. So the entire social media, all the platforms are built by the elite, better said by their front organizations, to present trauma based material and content, which they also are doing and without too much effort. They can make something up or twisting true information, present it as fact, and shovel it upon us, creating immense fear and anxiety in people. We may argue this is because they want to control us. And that is true. Another reason is that they feed from our emotions because they themselves lack spirit. They themselves lack life force. And so we have become their batteries. But there is a problem in this. The human batteries are also depleting of life force energy. And so we are now sucking one another dry of life force. So we are depleting one another. Keep that in mind. Another reason is that they feed from our emotions, and by instigating fear and terror, they get a lot of loosh. Loosh is soul energy. That is what it's all about. That is also true. However, there is another reason. Two, by traumatizing us on a global scale, so by traumatizing the entire human soul group on a global scale, we all develop the same fears and traumas, which is automatically added to the unconscious mind, which is the common mind of the human soul group that we all share. Thus, they can trigger us globally, and most of us will react the same. This reminds me of how MK Ultra programming works. So you can say the elite have brought us in actuality in a global MK Ultra programming. I know that the name MK Ultra does not exist anymore. That is changed into a different name. I don't know what anymore. It is still going on in a certain way. Yes, it is now globally taking place, but because the majority of humans, of the human soul group, are still avoiding and are deciding to be ignorant, um, willful ignorant, they don't want to know this, and they have their fingers in their ears and say, oh, that doesn't exist, and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's not the case. We are in a global MK Ultra programming. So this is how you can say that the global traumatization program is. Thus, they can trigger us globally, and most of us will react the same, which creates a uniform vibration the overlords need to attach to us in metaverse. They are not coming to us to possess us for the purpose of the Orion invasion, which is this cosmic galactic battle of which you, lovely brothers and sisters, are still unawares of. You think that you live life, but as a matter of fact, your whole life was already pre-programmed from the cradle to the grave. And in actuality, your whole life is already in such a way programmed to prepare you for this coming cosmic galactic future war between the overlords and the Orion. All right. So you need to make a decision. Do you want to be part of a cosmic galactic war? Do you want to be used by the overlords as cannon fodder? If not so, then get the heck out of that timeline and choose another timeline in which you do not have to experience all this shit. They are not coming to us to possess us for the purpose of the Orion invasion. We will come to them. So that is how cleverly they have set up the entire construct. They reside in the lower dimensions of the astral, which the Pleiadians refer to as the machine kingdom. There, everything is technology. So now you get the understanding what this world is being terraformed in. Could it be that humanity now is terraforming this world into a physical astral realm? Let's ponder upon that one. That is where they want to have us all mentally. Then we are within the same frequency range as the overlords. Better said, we have become one with their schizophrenic mind. From there, it is a piece of cake to take us over because we vibrate within their normal frequency range, and we have become like them, as narcissistic, sociopathic, and psychopathic as they are themselves. Something that is happening more rapidly right now. And this the Orion book is from the year 2023 and 2024. So it's quite new. Look around you. Are we living in a more spiritual environment than 20 to 30 years ago? Well, to be very honest, my observation is that this world is in a rapid pace lacking any form of spirituality. It is as if this world is getting more and more depleted from any form of spirituality. And the spirituality that is there is a synthetic version of it. So not real. Or are we living in a robotic, super technological environment? Look at all these fake windmills, solar panels, electric cars and all the electric shit that they are pushing upon us to be used. So, no, I do not see that we are living in a more spiritually based world at all. We are living in a fake world dominated by stupid technology, sorry to say so, dominated by artificial intelligence, of which many people think that is a great thing that is in their lives. Is it? Artificial intelligence is the takeover of the entire human soul group. So that is why I am presenting all this information to help you to realize in what time you are and in what timeline you are and in the world you are. And is that the world you want to be in? Is that the timeline you want to be in? I don't want. Not at all. All right. Um, so look around you. Are we living in a more spiritual environment than 20 to 30 years ago? Or are we living in a robotic, super technological environment where human feelings and emotions are frowned upon and we are gaslit into showing lesser and lesser and lesser and lesser love and empathy and care and compassion and empathy toward our fellows? I think the answer is quite obvious. We are approaching the overlords and their machine kingdom as a soul group, merging with our ancestors. We have discussed hive mind pertaining to the singularity. I was also told that if we enter metaverse and get trapped in the cloud, we will merge with all our ancestors on our genetic line. All right, comma, without having any control over it. Well, where's the trap in this? This means all these people in a person's ancestral line, some of them perhaps being murderers and rapists, will now be one with this person. You horrible thought. Why do the overlords do this? Because this mimics who they themselves are, because these overlords are the rapists and the criminals of this world and their proxies, known as elite people, known as oligarchs, known as cabal, known as Illuminati, known as whatever name you have attached to them. So we need to wake up again. What the Pleiadians were saying. Do you want to enter into this timeline, this machine kingdom? Or are you a human soul that has something like, no, I want to be with nature. I want to live a life in nature. I don't want this shit anymore. Then you need to wake up and make the decision. But you only can make a decision if you are inform and educate yourselves about all the consequences that the timeline these overlords are trying to push us rapidly in has for you, but for each one of us. All right. And they want us to be like them. So now we come to this Bible sentence that the so-called God, who is Yaldabaoth, is saying to his so-called chosen children, be ye perfect as I am perfect. Oh, Do we need to become schizophrenic, sociopathic, psychopathic? Because that is God the Father of this world. And we need to see this through. He is not there for us. And if you think if shit hits the fan in this world and you pray to this prick, will it save you? No, because you are the only one who can save you. And I am on a learning path, and thankfully, the strongest part in me pulled me out of this, and I needed to walk that pathway. And I needed to discover the whole Bible story because there are certain truths still in it, although not much anymore, because with the generation they take out more and more truth-based information from the Bible. But there are still truths in it. There are still valuable things in it. But I am growing. I am on a path of finding truth so I can make my decision in what timeline I want to go further in. Well, not the one that is now presented to us. But therefore, you need to make a path, and therefore, you need to step onto a path that sometimes leads you to sidetracks. And you need to go through these sidetracks too, because there are also elements of truth to pick up. Um, all this, I believe, are ideas shared by Enki and Marduk, but these two so-called gods are still not on the same page. As a reminder from what we discussed in chapter 8, Marduk wants to get his hands on metaverse and the entire singularity and take Enki out of the equation. Enki, from his position, wants to do the same with Marduk. So there is a battle going on, and we are in between it. Of course. What's new? Two people in control of metaverse. Well, what can go wrong with that? Are one too many? Who wins the race is for us irrelevant. The outcome will still be the same for us, although a bit harsher if Marduk gets the upper hand, because Marduk, brothers and sisters, has an incredible hate against everything that is human. He hates humans. And Enki slash Lucifer slash fallen archangel Uriel, and who also sees itself as God the Father, yeah, he wants to so-called save his children, what is not for our best interest, of course, because his way of saving his so-called children is for his own personal gain, not for us. Not for our best interest. Not at all. Not at all. All right, the nanoverse and quantum mechanics. Dr. Marco Sacchi, the project lead and Royal Society University Research Fellow at the University of Surrey, said, many have long suspected that the quantum world, which is weird, counterintuitive, and so-called wonderful, plays a role in life as we know it, while the idea that something can be present in two places at the same time might be absurd to many of us. This happens all the time in the quantum world, and our study confirms that quantum tunneling also happens in DNA. Quantum tunneling also happens in DNA at room temperature. That is interesting. When we discuss Orion, what we are talking about, the quantum and subquantum worlds. which is Orion. Therefore, in the matrix, we are connected and influenced by the quantum world. That is our home. That is where our DNA originates. Dash en.ki or Enki just manipulated it to restrict our senses to this particular matrix system. So now, when scientists have gotten the hang of quantum mechanics, which makes it possible to manipulate the quantum world, dash the nano world, comma, or the nanoverse slash Orion, they can also manipulate us and the matrix at large much easier. To explore the nanoverse, comma, top scientists today and in the past got help from the overlords. Of course, they got their help. Who channel information into selected humans. Yes, here it comes. With so again, to explore the nanoverse, top scientists today and in the past got help from the overlords who channel information into selected humans with brilliant minds, such as Tesla and others, as a part of the plan. And Nikola Tesla himself has revealed this and has honestly said that he was helped and that in actuality many of the information was not his in the first place. From there, they can easily manipulate our DNA in the laboratories. In the beginning of the third construct, the matrix, the overlords could do it themselves because they still had creative abilities. But now they need us because Orion, the queen of the stars, and the Khan and Lil have stripped the overlords from all their creative abilities. So they now need us to do their bidding, yeah, to do their creations. They use the human soul group to create their plan, to create their creations. Yeah, so nothing that we see in this world is from human minds only. No. All that is created, especially in the technological scene, is coming from the overlords. The human soul group is completely doing what the overlords want them to create and bring into existence. Because they still had creative abilities, but now they need us to do it for them. Therefore, the only reason why scientists were made aware of the quantum world was so they can transmute humankind using nanotechnology to make the transition into the nanoverse via the metaverse. Also, regarding how something can be present in several places simultaneously, we have many times discussed how an avatar can split itself to exist simultaneously in several locations in the universe and across the dimensions. We just split our spirit fires. Quantum physicists at high levels know this, but they are not, of course not, revealing that part to the public. So Louis Slocum, a philosopher doctor student at the Lever-Hulme Quantum Biology Doctoral Training Center and co-author of the study, said, There is still a long and exciting road ahead of us to understand how biological processes work on the subatomic level, but our study and countless others over the recent years have confirmed quantum mechanics are at play. In the future, we are hoping to investigate how tautomers produced by quantum tunneling can propagate and generate genetic mutations. Here they just reveal something they already know the answer to. Of course they already know the answer, but they make it seem like as if they are not aware of it. Um, Of course, they know the answer to and are implementing big time to prepare for the singularity. But they are pretending they are still researching it. And this is where the big key comes in. Many things that are being revealed right now doesn't mean that they are testing it. It means that you have to flip the information and then you will see that they are already doing this. The same with the information about the experiment of creating and growing crops that can have viruses in them. This is something that is already being done. And there are already test places going on in the world to see how this works out. It's not just a research, it's not just in the beginning, they are already doing it. And this is something we need to wake up to. They know much more than they are telling us, and they are using these technologies on us as we speak. In fact, the technology they are hiding from us is many decades ahead of what has been released and implemented so far. Behind closed doors are far more advanced technologies awaiting to be rolled out. Wake the heck up. Still, I am being modest here because most likely technology is much further ahead than just a few decades. Yes, to be very honest, I think hundreds of years already ahead. The SWS-the supercomputer in Indiana. SWS stands for Sentient World Simulation, and it refers to a supercomputer in Indiana, USA. What this computer does is uncanny, to say the least. It creates a synthetic parallel world with our avatars and is collecting data on us. They are messing around with us for decades. And we, the majority of humans here, are fussing about how to pay the rent, are fussing about the latest gadgets, are fussing about the latest electric car, are fussing about if buying a home is something to do these days, are fussing about their stupid vacations, are fussing about their stupid events. Where to go to? Oh, shall we go to this football game or shall we go to this tennis game? Shall we go to the Bahamas this year or shall we go to, let's say, well, California for vacation? In the meantime, behind the scenes, they are messing with us on all levels. And we do as if life goes on. Why bother? Why bother to realize that there is far more to the game than is being told to us? We need to see through all the layers of this game. So, what does this sentient world simulation supercomputer in Indiana do? It creates a synthetic parallel world with our avatars and is collecting data on us. So maybe there is all these data centers for, yeah, that they are now rapidly building. Sentient world simulation is the name given to the current vision of making SEAS a continuously running, continually updated mirror model of the real world that can be used to predict and evaluate future events and courses of action. The Sentient World Simulation Project (SWS) is to be based on SEAS, the ultimate goal envisioned by Alok R. Chaturvedi on March 10, 2006 was for the sentient world simulation to be a continuously running, continually updated mirror model of the world, of the real world that can be used to predict and evaluate future events such as the rollout of 2020 circus that they have done. That events that occur anywhere in the world and incorporate newly sensed data from the so-called real world as the models influence each other and the shared synthetic environment, behaviors and trends emerge in the synthetic world as they do in the real world. Analysis can be performed on the trends in the synthetic world to validate alternate world views. Information can be easily displayed and readily transitioned from one focus to another using detailed modeling, such as engineering level modeling, to aggregated, strategic, theater, or campaign level modeling. Imagine what they can do with this technology. And then imagine how it is used, better said, misused and abused today in preparation for metaverse slash singularity timeline and the event dash control of the future virtual reality simulation. A powerful sentient computer simulation of billions of people and nations that mirrors reality is up and running and likely tracking your every move. It is obvious to me that this is what the Department of Defense is using this program for as its main function. The official version of how it is used to predict what enemy nations' strategic plans in the future is just a secondary function. And these enemy nations, yeah, we need to wake up to that too. What are they understanding as enemy nations? Here is more solidifying what we have discussed for many years, now turning into reality. Even so, many may find it equally disturbing that each avatar in the sentient world simulation virtual reality universe does represent a thorough activity profile of who you are and what you are doing in the real world. Every time you engage with cyberspace, the sentient world simulation vacuums up that data point and adds it to the profile of your avatar, which means every time that you are on the internet, that you are on your phone, scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, that you are on your tablet, that you are working from your desktop, laptop, whatever. But also phoning, yeah, using your mobile phone. This creates a predictive model of you and tells the sentient world simulation operators how you are likely to react in certain situations, as well as how you will perform or act in a group dynamic situation. It collects a wide range of data points that essentially provides a complete profile of every person, including what they do, what they like, how they act in certain situations, and so on. It now becomes clear what this is all about, doesn't it? And there are reactions against this even within academia. Wow. Here is something that very much corresponds with what I have communicated over the years. This not only invades our privacy, what privacy? Because in a prison system you don't have any form of privacy, but can also cause severe damage to society. Which society? Because society is already damaged in many ways, shapes, and forms. Knowing that there is a copy of each one of us in the virtual world without us consciously knowing this and consciously being informed about this, which can think and behave like us, and whose actions can be predicted by the authorities, better said, archons and fallen archangels and fallen angels and elite people and oligarchs and whomever, is a far more intimidating invasion. This will have a negative impact on societies by reducing trust between citizens and government, while distrust is already vaporizing, as well as among people, altering normal human behavior since the populace will be conscious of the fact that there is a copy of them in a virtual world without their consent. So this is another piece of the puzzle. Explaining how they transfer our consciousness into metaverse, mirroring everything we do online. So now you get to understand that you do good to minimize your time online and also minimize your time on your weapon known as mobile phone, which is not a phone at all, but a remote control system through which they can control you. I hope it is getting clear now how they do this from a more technological and scientific standpoint. There is no doubt about it, is it? By mirroring us, being able to predict our actions and reactions, they can completely control us when we enter metaverse. The rest is a breeze. The overlords just need to connect to the ultimate mind-controlled hive mind. So once we are in metaverse, the time from when the metaverse grabs us and has us in its claws to when the invasion of Orion will happen will be brief. Everything is already completely prepared. Wake up. Do you want to go into a cosmic, galactic battle against your star brothers? Think about that. The Pleiadians often said that the problem the overlords have with us humans is that we are unpredictable and therefore difficult to control. Thankfully, this seems to have been eliminated now. Well, I think there is still a chance that we can turn the tables, but we need to inform and educate ourselves. And as long as we avoid doing so and stay willful ignorant, yes, then they can control you. So I think that there is still a chance that this unpredictableness of us humans is still there, but yeah, we need to see this and we need to take our sovereignty back and we need to inform ourselves and educate ourselves because through this we can take our sovereignty back and we can become this unpredictable human soul group again. In metaverse or singularity, we will instead be perhaps 98% predictable, made up number in this case, and that is enough for the overlords to control us all as the hive mind we will become. So, all right. Can you spot a deep fake from a real person? Well, this also becomes more and more difficult because I already see a lot of videos and shorties of which I truly am like, that is not real. That's not a real human. We obviously need to get used to new terms as those appear very frequently these days. One such term is deepfake. What does this mean? Deepfake denotes artificial intelligence technology being used to manipulate videos and audio in a way that replicates real life. This means that now everyone with a little practice can make a YouTube video of you, for example, with an avatar so much resembling you that it will fool the viewer thinking it is the real you. Then the YouTube creator can imitate your voice that it sounds just like you, considering he has a sample of your voice. Lastly, he can put words in your mouth you have never uttered. This is already happening and would never dream of uttering. Thus, running smear campaigns on people we do not like is now going to be a simple task, and it can ruin people's careers, destroy relationships, and so much more. People will never know whether you said these words or not. Well, the only thing you can prove this is by all the content you have made and that you have archived and stored on hard drives. It is your word against the YouTube video. This only shows how easily this technology can be misused and abused. And of course, many technology is being abused and misused against us, putting innocent people in dangerous situations. How can anyone think this will not happen? It is already happening. Do people think there will be some kind of working regulation against this? Good luck with that. What about Google, Silicon Valley? Are they all evil crooks trying to destroy humankind? To be honest, no, Believe it or not, but most people working for Google, for example, are enthusiastic, good, but extremely naive people, thinking AI technology will enhance our lives in the near future. I think many of the people in Silicon Valley are extreme naive, including giving us eternal life. Oh, yeah, which is a fake based eternal life because that eternal life is not eternal life at all. Um, Someone interviewed the CEO of Google, Sundar Pichai, and asked him if he didn't think it was dangerous to let AI loose since some androids have threatened to exterminate humans in the future. This Mr. answered he was aware of this, and it greatly bothers him to the point where he is very anxious about the whole thing. When asked why he doesn't call it quits, he replied that it is already gone too far. It is unstoppable. Even if he would shut down the entire AI project. Some brilliant teenager somewhere would still be able to go in and complete the work. And with work, it implies using AI technology viciously. So there is no way back, the CEO said. Well, even if that is true, it does not, in my opinion, justify this Mr. Pichai to continue. If I were him, I would do the only decent thing, quit my job when I noticed things got overboard and go out and warn people against the process. Moreover, for some time I have spoken about AI taking over art, entertainment, music, visual art, and literature. I already see this for at least a decade now. Now it is happening. We might think AI art can't compete with art created by a human creator because human creators have feelings and emotions. AI doesn't. If so, I have news. We do not need to think farther than to the psychopaths in our lives. They are evidently without genuine emotions and feelings, but they can very successfully imitate our deepest emotions because they have studied them all their lives. And they think their own survival depends on being able to duplicate genuine emotions. Often they do it better than the genuine person. The difference, however, lies in the word genuine. If an emotionless human can mimic emotions that well, why can't AI? It can, and it already is doing so. For example, if I write a novel, it might take a year from start to finish. If I were to tell an AI my plot ideas, AI can write the book in 20 seconds. Dr. Jordan Peterson did an experiment with this, and he said he was shocked because he could not distinguish between his own writing and that of AI. This means in the future, all we need to do is to give AI an idea and it can write an entire book in a matter of no time on a computer fast enough to write that fast. This takes away the human creative abilities from us here in the matrix, and this is exactly what the overlords want. So this AI is nothing more than a weapon used against us to dehumanize us from our human creative abilities and thus from our spirit in a rapid pace. So did the first singularity happen in Atlantis? Wow, let's go into that. The end period of Atlantis, i.e., the second construct before the Matrix, is known to have been highly technologically developed. Remnants of these cultures still exist, both under the ocean where ruins of old, magnificent cities have been discovered, and in Antarctica. Maybe that is the reason why so many people are not allowed to go to Antarctica, where impressive remnants of these ancient advanced civilizations have been detected. We also know that Noah's flood happened because of Enki's tinkering with human genetics. And the gods already then raped human women or seduced them, creating hybrid offspring, which is a high crime in the universe. And that alone renders the experiment void, and it needs to be terminated. It is almost like if you try to isolate something in a laboratory and you forget to put on your sterile gloves. So germs get into the experiment. That makes the experiment corrupted and void, and it must be terminated. Already in the 1990s, Marciniak's Pleiadians said that Atlantis was more technologically advanced than our present society. Space travel was common, and I would go so far as to say that Enki behind everybody's back created the first singularity already then. So this whole singularity idea, lovely brothers and sisters, is not new. History, as many have said already, is repeating itself again. um, so I would go so far as to say that Enki behind everybody's back created the first singularity already then, perhaps 11,000 years ago, just before the deluge. I would further argue that Enki's singularity was hijacked by Marduk, who took over and manipulated a group of humans to invade the Pleiades, where Enki at that time had a stronghold. I think it happened like this. Enki created the first singularity, and when he was good to go, he was detected, and the entire experiment was terminated by Orion in a flood. So this gives another story on the flood. Enki fled to the Pleiades, where he had a stronghold to which he could escape the wrath of his brother, Enlil, and the rest of the Orion crew. However, Marduk then saw his opportunity to use the hijacked human group against Enki, so he manipulated that group to invade the Pleiades and take it over, having their avatars possessed by calm kings, forcing these humans to invade and take the star systems. I think the invasion of the Pleiades that the Pleiadians talk about was not a human idea. It came from Marduk, and this time around, Marduk is trying to do something similar, with the exception that this time he goes for Orion directly, using Enki's plan to do this. I also suspect the first singularity did not play out in a metaverse, but in the current physical world. Enki put humans into gray cyborgs, which is backed up by channeled material, where the channeling entities claim to be us in the future on a different timeline. Almost all of them claim to be what is called and known as grays. Enki might not yet have mastered nanotechnology enough at that time to create a functioning metaverse, putting humans in gray dash space suit could have been a pilot project Marduk then sneaked up on and took over when Enki looked the other way. Thus, the invasion of the Pleiades happened in the physical realm because of the resilience of the gray body type. Humans could be sent as an army through wormholes and stargates to enter the Pleiades. So who is most likely to win the current race, Marduk or Enki? It is hard to say, but we might get further hints by studying world politics continuously. Who is gaining ground, Marduk's or Enki's team? So, and then as a last, how can we take advantage of the overlord's agenda? A few people have asked me what to do if you're young and will be alive and well when the singularity is in place and you refuse to participate. I think there might be a way around it, but how? When the metaverse participants have engulfed by the cloud, the grid will almost likely come down, and even if it does not come down completely, it is going to be damaged that we are no longer talking about holes like in a Swiss cheese. We are talking about a grid that is hanging on loose threads like a damaged spider web that is being cut through many times. Survivors here on Earth not being stuck in the new grid, the cloud, will become more multidimensional because there is a huge pathway to the Ka or void where the grid used to be. Also, there will be survivors here on Earth who know about the grid and Orion. They will certainly educate others, and when these young people eventually die off from old age or disease, they can easily leave the matrix. The road to freedom is wide open. The trick for those alive when metaverse is fully functional is to refuse to participate. Therefore, it will most likely be necessary to build groups or tribes to survive on what nature can bring. So back to nature, so to speak. I do not think the overlords or the elite will tamper too much with these survivors because they have more important things to concentrate on. I am quite confident they will leave these groups alone. All right, and with this said, I have come to the end of reading this second part of chapter 21, which was all about the singularity and humans 4.0. The next time, chapter 22, is all about more on the grid and death. It also goes in for a little bit into the Orion Con-King battle between 2008 and 2009. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in into one of the channels, Facebook, YouTube, or Rumble. Thank you so much for visiting these channels. Thank you for visiting the website mentioned in the text box below. Thank you for going to the West Penry websites also. And thank you for visiting his websites and go scrolling through his information and informational videos. Again, I highly recommend you to buy this book yourself, the Orion Book, Volume 1 and 2, both. I would buy them both and read them yourself and yeah, start questioning things about the world that you are in and in what timeline do you actually want to be in. And thank you again, and let us listen to a short piece of music which is called Hope, created by Ben Sound. And thank you, and I next time.